Hello, beautiful people. By my not my usual self, a little beat and tired. I've only slept 6 hours in the past 48 hours. I've just had a job interview. I drove 16 hours, etc. Life, baby. But let's just get right into it. The only thing that gives me energy and hope is the NBA. And right now, the Atlanta Hawks with a voice crack right there, guys. The Atlanta Hawks. It's weird. So, before we get into this, shout out Sam and Mac for this information. Inside the end of the Travis Schlenk era in Atlanta, the Hawks' new power structure and how it's impacting the team. I want to hear your thoughts down below. There's the way I edited this video. You're watching from the beginning. I'm gonna start the video. This is edited weird. We're gonna just hop into all the guys who just got in, and then we're gonna go. This is everything that's happened for a couple weeks. Landry Fields, the 34-year-old former NBA player, is now elevated to assistant general manager. Now he's the head of operation. He previously worked with the Spurs as a scout, and that's why I always say there's an MA Udoka connection here. And he was the general manager of the Austin Spurs. Nick Ressler, the 27-year-old son of Hawks owner Tony Ressler, who has had increased influence on the roster and staffing decision during his time as the team's director of business and basketball operations starting in December 2020, according to league sources who are granted an anonymity. I can't say that word. Just they're anonymous. And next one, Ryan Silverstein. He's a close friend of Nick Ressler. He's now the team's coordinator of cap strategy and administration. It's pretty crazy, right? Nick Ressler hires his best friend. That's pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. Grant Liffman, the 35-year-old who spent his last 6 seasons covering the Golden State Warriors as a member of NBC, was hired as a pro personnel scout and is close friends with Landry Fields. It's normal for team executives to travel to road games, especially with the deadline coming up, but you don't technically see a brain trust show out those kind of numbers. You know what I mean? Like these were all the guys who were there. And in terms of Hawks officials who matter most in the wake of the change, Kyle Korver, the team's director of player affairs and development, is now the head general. Is now heading to the general assistant general manager role, with VP basketball strategy and analytics Dwight Lutz and senior director of player personnel Doton and Guel Jr. also being there. But there's a grander purpose of the front office's road trip. The basketball operation group was making its way to Los Angeles, where the league sources were meeting with Tony Ressler, the owner, at one of his California houses. And the thing is that the Hawks announced that Schlicht would play a complimentary role, but league sources are saying he's no longer part of Atlanta. And this is due to the fact that they also said that they dismissed Rod Higgins, Stephen Giles, and Derek Pierce. And Schlenk and his staff got extensions last year, and it had been said Ressler wanted them to be there for a decade, but we can clearly see, and we're assuming that Nick Ressler's effect on decision-making process played a pivotal part in the power dynamics that ultimately led in Schleck's exile. There was a bit of an open secret around the league, and it's clear that Nick Ressler's voice is becoming heavily considered. And me and my friend were joking that part of the reason Travis Schlenk probably got kicked out was with everything that's going on this season. He's probably just in the corner of the room, just looking at them like, it'd be nice if we had some picks right now. It'd be nice if you guys didn't trade away my players. How you doing, Nick? They probably just told him to get the fuck out. And I think Nick Ressler's just getting a bunch of guys that think that agree with the way he thinks. I'm gonna give you guys a little personal anecdote right here about the Atlanta Hawks. So Kevin Schonard, the lead writer for Hawks.com, I've interviewed him before, twice actually. Once on the NBA show more recently, and over the summer right before free agency. It's kind of funny. We do exchange messages on Twitter because whenever something happens to the Atlanta Hawks, I send him stuff. And when we originally talked, Kevin Schoenard and I, and if you're a Hawks fan, you know who Kevin Schoenard is. And Landry Fields had recently been promoted to assistant general manager. And I asked him if there was anything there to read between the lines. And he didn't say anything. He's just someone who's well respected. However, when he was announced he was becoming president of basketball operations, I sent something to Kevin Schoenard, and he sent me a video. And in this video was an interview with Landry Fields. And Landry Fields said he met, guess who? Nick Ressler, the son of Hunter Ressler. Tony Ressler, my apology. Tony Ressler's son, Nick Ressler. And Nick, who is now becoming more of... So basically, Nick met Landry Fields, okay, at like some like scouting thing in the at like some scouting thing. And a few months later, Nick Ressler gets his dad to hire him. Nick Ressler's more involved now, and he's basically put like-minded guys around him. Landry Fields, now Kyle Korver, which we reported this morning after Shams Charania had tweeted about it. So let's just get right into it because Travis Schlenk is gone. Shout out, all this information is coming from our man. And the other thing is, think about this. There's a guy named Ryan Silverstein who's a coordinator, cap strategy, and administration at the Atlanta Hawks. And he's lost in at Georgia State. And he went from, front office assistant to now being somebody like inside the front office. We'll just talk about it in a simple second. So Travis Schlenk 2 weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, was put in an advisory role. Now, I don't know I hope Landry Fields isn't a yes guy, but he's definitely going to put guys who are going to say yes to him. I think Landry Fields